Tell me about the days that really sucked and the days where you didn't know what to do next.
That's every Monday. We're laughing now, but I think for the first 3 months, I literally told my wife, every Monday it feels like I'm starting a brand new business. You don't know what to do next.
A big welcome to the very first episode of 180 Degrees, the podcast where we talk to people who have turned their lives around because they were, well, courageous enough to turn their lives around. My name's Anna Greenfield and I'll be your host. Today we're talking to a super unlikely entrepreneur. SJ Wiggett is the kind of guy that always likes to know what's happening next. So the fact that he left his job to start a marketing business at the start of this year is impressive enough. The fact that he's made that marketing business grow and thrive all the way through the Covid-19 lockdown is bloody amazing. I know his story is going to inspire you just as much as it inspired me. Let's go. So SJ Wiggett, thank you so much for agreeing to be my very first ever guest on 180 Degrees.
Anna, thank you. It's really a privilege to be the first.
I'm really excited that you're the first person I'm talking to because for me to commit to recording 52 people who are changing their lives in a year is also a big, scary 180-degree turn in my life. So it's cool that the first person I'm talking to is someone who has just made the turn in their life like 10 minutes ago. Okay, maybe not 10 minutes ago, maybe 5 months ago, 6 months ago?
So we started on the 1st of March 2020, but it feels like 5 minutes ago. But yeah, very, very recent.
Tell me what you did before this. What's your X-Men origin story?
Firstly, if you say the word X-Men, I'm a bit intimidated, but I am married to Mariesha since 2011. And I mentioned that first for a specific reason, because that's one of the main priorities in my life. And I think one of the main constants in my life over the last 9 years.
I'm going to play that part of the interview to my husband so that he introduces himself like that also.
But you've also got a very good husband. Dean is a champ. But in any case, so if we have to rewind further before 2011, I grew up in the West Rand in Gauteng, born and bred there, did my school years there. But then after school, I've been in 5 different industries. I think let's start with that. So I've been behind a pulpit, I've been retrenched, I've sold real estate to make ends meet, I've been in the furniture and corporate identity development sector. So I've worked for a radio station in Pretoria, I've worked for a radio station in Cape Town, and I've even helped start a media agency. And despite all of this, I've lived in 31 different homes. And I mean, this 31 homes was in 5 different provinces in our country.
Sure.
So despite all of this change and almost non-certainty, it's not an uncertainty, it's non-certainty, I actually prefer quite stable and certain environments. But I think all of this shaped me and prepared me for what I'm going to do for the rest of my life, even if it's not what I'm doing right now.
Are you a typical entrepreneur? Are you that guy that jumps off the cliff and builds the bridge?
No, sorry for interrupting, but it's a very clear, I don't have to think about it. It's no. If you told me a year ago, I'm going to start a business, I would have laughed at you. If you told me a year ago that my wife and I will be full-time employed by our own company, I don't think I would have started crying perhaps. So no, I've never wanted my own company, or I had this big dream of building my empire or nothing. Never, never, never.
Okay, so how do you go then if you never wanted that, why are you doing that? How did that happen?
I was at the media agency. It was part of a media group. I've spent 7 years with them. And it's when the media agency was about 2 years old, and it was the 3rd company within the group that I was part of and helped with. It was a random Wednesday. And I just realized I've done a lot. I've made great contributions, and it was a privilege to be part of the team that created this agency basically out of nothing. And it was doing good, and we saw momentum and we saw traction. But on a random Wednesday, I realized I cannot take this company further. There is potential, a lot of potential, a lot of growth that can still be obtained, but I am not the jockey to ride this horse to victory. And in that moment, I realized I'm filling someone's seat. And I'm going to do myself injustice. I'm going to do the team injustice. I'm going to do the company injustice if I stay for comfort or for security. And there was another time in my life, a previous time when I had the exact same feeling. It's only happened twice, where I realized I need to move. And our CEO has always asked me that, SJ, if you ever want to leave, please just give me sufficient heads up. So I resigned in November of 2019 with effect end of Feb 2020. So I gave 4 months notice.
That's like the nicest resignation ever. Like, I'm leaving, but I'm going to take 4 months to make sure you guys are
And that was the
okay.
intent. That was really, really the intent. That's the promise I made. That's the word I gave. And as far as possible, I always want to stay someone true to my word. And the funny thing is, when I resigned in November, I even did the formal type of letter. It felt so awkward because I've got a very good relationship with the previous CEO of the company I worked for. It felt so formal to give him a letter. I mean, but in any case, and he asked me, what are you going to do? And I said, honestly, I don't have a clue, because I didn't. I didn't have a backup plan. I didn't have a plan B. But the one thing that I realized is I had to draw a line in the sand. Only then will my heart and my head be able to move on. Because as long as there's this open back door, it won't be possible. So even if I think back at it, it's like the worst advice. It's not how you do it. All the guys tell you to get your side hustle going and then slowly transcend smoothly from your full-time employment to the side hustle. All of that, I know. I've read it. I've listened to the podcast. I've seen the TED Talks. But that's not how it played out for me.
So you have a marketing company now. I mean, in February, you were sort of like sitting at home with the reality of, I no longer have that job. Now I have to make up a job or look for a new job. So did you have an idea that this is what you wanted to do?
So it caused me to do some serious soul searching. I think all the stuff you listen to and you read and you say, oh, I can do this. And I think it lasts about maybe 3 days and 7 hours. Then you realize, no, I'm not sure what I'm doing. And I'm not the type of guy that's going to go back on my word or cancel the resignation, because the conviction in my heart was not a fleeting thing. So when I made the decision to move, I thought, okay, but I need to make this work now. I need to do something for the livelihood of my family, of myself. And then I started with the idea of, okay, let's do some consulting. I'm in the marketing sphere, so I would like to consult companies. Just go in there, give them some advice about their marketing, make suggestions, and it's up to them if they implement it or not. Then I just take my bag and I leave and just be a freelance marketing consultant. That was the idea.
So that was the starting point, as you went from, okay, I've now made the 180-degree turn. This has now happened. And I, who like to have plans, have no plans. So I'm going to start with what I know.
So I literally got very basic and looked at what's in my hands. What skill sets do I have? What value can I add? What experience do I have? What relationships do I have in terms of strategic alliances, etc., like that? So I didn't try to imagine with a clean canvas. I started from the point of who am I and what value can I add and what is in my hand. And that's where I try to pivot or segue into marketing consulting.
And then COVID happened.
Just before COVID, actually, originally I wanted to start inside out. So it was a inside out marketing consultant. It's to take an inside out approach to business, to look if everything is healthy on the inside, to make sure that the message you broadcast to the outside is an effective one, a clear one. So it was very nice on paper, but it just never resonated with my heart. I couldn't get excited about it. My mind got quite excited because it made sense on paper. And there was this one day I was driving on the N2 and we were quite backed up in traffic because there was some cattle next to the N2. Yes, it's a real thing in Cape Town. There's cattle next to the N2, which is a national freeway. So there was some of the traffic police busy just getting the vehicles to slow down so that no one bumps into cattle at 120 kilometers an hour. So this forced me to slow down. And I was just thinking, and I was quite frustrated. And I was actually praying, and I asked the Lord, but yes, we've got a problem. It's funny how I made the decision. Then I told him we have a problem, but I need to do something, and I don't have a solid plan. I've got this inside out thing going on, but I'm not sure if that's going to put food on our table. And I really just got the sense of this question that popped into my mind. What are two of the most important things for you? And I'm like, okay. And it just came up to me. I love brands. I love to work with brands, especially brands that are eager to grow and take their own business serious and that really just enjoy business. And the second thing is people. Although I've been in 5 different industries, the one thing that's always been a common denominator is I had the privilege to work with people. And that's how brands and people started. So I wanted to grow brands and develop people.
And then COVID happened.
And then COVID happened. So we started brands and people. So that's when we burned the midnight oil. And 1st of March 2020, we kicked off with brands and people. And 2 weeks later, South Africa was in lockdown.
Crazy. And how did that feel?
In the moment, it was very daunting. It was like, oh my goodness. And it actually gave me some inspiration to consider to write a book on timing, how not to do it, or when not to do it by SJ Wiggett. but I must say, what is quite interesting is something that's really a fundamental part of my life and my life philosophy is Proverbs 19:21. That says, many is the plans in a man's heart, but it's God's purpose that prevails. And because I make a lot of plans, because I like to prepare, I'm constantly busy with plans. And I really had to reach a point in my life where I realized that there's always going to be a lot of plans. But as long as I know there's a point where God's purpose prevails. And even in that, when the pandemic hit and the lockdown happened, I still had a weird sense of peace. I heard Horst Schulze, he's the Dutch name that I can't say. He's the founder of Ritz-Carlton Hotel Group. He recently said something that was quite profound for me. He said that people follow objective and motive, not instruction and rules. And that was really evident for me because the motive and the objective I had for starting brands and people was the same. The circumstances changed, the pandemic changed, all of that. But I didn't have a set of rules or instructions I wanted to follow. I had a certain objective and a motive, and that remained the same. And that is what kept me sane up until now, 6 months and 10 minutes later.
Let's talk about that objective, that motive. Why did you start Brands and People? What is your mission?
I would really want to see small, medium enterprises flourish. I think that is the heart of an economy. I think that's the heart of a community. But just because it does so much in the way that a community is shaped, just from employment, from services, from products. So for me, I wanted to, with my skill set, with my experience, really help small, medium enterprises to flourish. Because when they flourish, I'm helping a community. I'm helping households. And I just realized that is the opportunity, because normally those are the guys that need it and they're willing to do it, but they are disqualified of it due to a price point.
Yeah, I mean, they don't have the money to have a full-time marketing team necessarily. It's probably like the accounts lady or, whoever's sort of running the front desk sometimes makes a flyer or does our Facebook page.
Or they get an instruction when someone walks past, please phone these 2 people and get quotes. But I mean, there's no marketing intelligence, there's no background. And I mean, kudos to all the brave souls out there that strikes on the task without any background or knowledge or education or anything. But I mean, and a lot of money is actually wasted because the marketing is not done proactively. It's not done in strategy. It's not done systematically. It's just all over the show. So a lot of money actually goes to waste. And I just wanted to help people stop wasting money and start flourishing by doing effective marketing.
Cool. So now back to COVID, because during this time, marketing being like, if the business is the cake, marketing is the icing. And icing is the first thing we're going to leave off if we don't have enough money. And especially with SMEs who are already struggling to afford marketing. And these guys are now your target market. How did they respond to like, hi, I'm SJ and I'd like to do some marketing for you in a time when no one has spare cash to do anything? Did you get clients?
Hard facts being upfront, we in a 4-week period we lost 91% of our business.
Yep.
I actually had a conversation with someone like, Isha, why can't you say the majority of your business? How do you even know that you lost 91%? Not 90 or anyway. Yet again, everything took me back to the objective and the motive. I still wanted to help SMEs flourish. So I ended up helping people in ways. One of the things that I did, for example, is I had with business owners just as a soundboard. We just had sessions for them to think out loud because they were juggling so many things, making so many decisions. I wasn't there to try and tell them what to do or how to market.
And has it paid off?
Those were some of the most profound sessions. I really focused on what do I need to do now to help these businesses flourish. So I was really trying to solve their current problem and trying to sell them something. And we saw serious fruit from that. That COVID was an opportunity for us to do relational capital investment. So I realized there's maybe guys that is in a tough place or they can't afford certain bills or certain invoices, and almost just realize that I'm investing in relational capital. Yes, it's risky. Yes, clinically look at it from a business point of view, it doesn't make sense and you need to make ends meet. But I just realized that's going to be a true test of my motive is, do I really want to help people? Or do I want to help people because I can make a lot of money?
Okay, so it looks like what you're doing has paid off. The business is obviously still going. Tell me about the days that really sucked and the days where you didn't know what to do next.
That's every Monday. We're laughing now, but literally, I think for the first 3 months, I literally told my wife, every Monday it feels like I'm starting a brand new business. You don't know what to do next. And I think we were still very early in the pandemic. So literally, okay, we had this idea. No, it's not working anymore. It's not applicable. Let's change. So I am allergic to the word pivot. I can't say that word anymore because so that was really, I think knowing what the best next step is was a big challenge. And the other thing is to know what the next best step for us is or for brands and people is. Because I think there was a lot of tangents that people jumped on just because they were unsure, and everybody was playing catch up with everybody. So for argument's sake, we made the decision not to do webinars because there was a stage like almost, you need to do a webinar. That's the thing to do. Everybody's on a webinar. Why are you not on a webinar? Why are you not doing things online? So I think for us just to stay the course, be agile to adapt and adjust accordingly, but not trying to be the flavor of the month or keeping up with the Joneses. So that was quite tough with this hysterical panic going on to stay the course.
And just be what you are and do what you do. Okay, so the other thing I happen to know is that you are not the only entrepreneur in your house. You and your wife, Mariesha, both had solid day jobs, and then you ditched yours. And then shortly after COVID, she came and joined you. No, who does that? Who says, let's have no solid stream of income, let's have no security, let's both of us jump into this thing that we are still defining? That's insane.
If you say it like that, I agree. It is quite insane. I think all of this is just very important to know that our household has been functioning for the last years on what is the next best opportunity without being impulsive. So we do the necessary due diligence, think it through, and then we follow opportunities. So what we did is a principle in our house is that we never run from things, but we always run towards things. And I think Mariesha's transition to brands and people on a full-time capacity was clearly that. She ran towards the opportunity at brands and people. She didn't run from her employment.
I love that you said she ran towards the opportunity at brands and people when brands and people was still not properly a thing. Like, I love that you gave yourself that credit that I made a thing that is an opportunity for someone.
Well, I mean, that's the closest person to you, your spouse. So, I mean, I can tell you very fancy slogans here, but I mean, I think she experienced that. Me trying and living and figuring out and making mistakes. Something of that had to be authentic, and I think something of that had to be appealing to her.
What's it like? I mean, during the pandemic, living with, working with, figuring it out with your life partner. I mean,
For me personally, it has been a tremendous privilege to experience this with her being so close by, not at arm's length. It has its challenges. I think it really tests your boundaries, it tests your rhythms, and it also exposes some dark places in your soul, which is good for growth. So it was really good for us. I think the fact that we work together now has really forced us to really look at those places that we maybe just for convenience sake avoid, or the areas of our relationship or marriage that we've left quite conveniently in the corner. But for us, I think the main thing that we've taken is we've really seen how each other work. Because Mariesha has a total different methodology than I have. And I think physically working together on the same thing has really been shaping our character to a next level, which I think is good for our marriage. I think it's good for our business, and it's good for our individual development. So it's not always been easy. I'm not going to say, oh, it's a breeze. I mean, we have our moments, but we really see the good from that.
amazing. I don't know how your work hours work, but obviously people who have jobs in other places or who don't work together have perhaps a car ride home or a run after work, or just a little bit of time to switch from I am now at work and now I'm at home. How do you guys do that switch?
So Mariesha is very adaptable. She switches at the drop of a hat. She can literally walk to the kitchen and then she's switched. I need to do something physically that removes me from the place. So although our office is at home and we work from home, so I try and go for an outdoor walk every afternoon. It would be a solo walk, no earphones, no podcast, anything. So then I would literally walk and say, okay, cool, what's on my mind, what am I thinking, what do I need to prioritize, how was the day, just reflect. And then when I re-enter the house, I am not at work anymore. So I need to do something physical. Staying in Cape Town, and we've got some rain going, then I need to find an alternative. For that, sometimes it can be training or just sitting and just staring.
I suppose there was a stage during lockdown where you couldn't go for a walk.
Yeah, yet again, it sounds so nice and so thought. I mean, this was 6 months of every day figuring it out, having lockdown. But yet again, that I've got such appreciation for being able to go for a walk, because there was a stage when I couldn't do that.
Before we finish up, tell me how Brands and People is doing now. You're obviously still a fairly young business, and you've managed through COVID to lose all your clients and hopefully pick up some more clients and define who you are and what you do into the future. If you get no new clients today, how long will you be okay?
3 months.
3 months.
But then we close shop. So if no one, then it's not, oh, it's going tough, or we could maybe just have 1 cup of coffee a day, then we close shop.
What does that do for you when you wake up in the morning and you're like, okay, I have to make this work now?
When I'm thinking it's all up to me, then I get frightened and I get intimidated. But when I realize it's not 100% in my hands, I'm only responsible for what I can do today, and I'm responsible to do that to the best of my abilities. And I think that has been the biggest struggle for me, is to balance where is my responsibility and where does it end and where does it start, and also what part of that is God's sovereignty. So balancing man's responsibility and God's sovereignty, that's been the biggest challenge for me. And to know when is enough enough. When am I allowed to call it a day? 5 p.m., 6 p.m., 7 p.m. So I just got a new appreciation of time as well, because I can fool myself and sit at the laptop every day to 6 p.m., but I'm not efficient. I'm not really producing results. So yeah, but it is frightening. And when it's frightening, I realize I'm leaning on myself. So when I realize that it's not up to me, if it works or if it doesn't work, I'm only responsible for what I do and what I put in, not the result. then I have peace and I do what I can. And tomorrow we do it again. Dress up, show up, and do our best.
Dress up, show up, do our best. I think we should leave it there. Like, wow, I'm amazed. Thank you so much for sharing your time with us and sharing your learning experiences and for being vulnerable. I can really appreciate that. And I think a lot of people that hear this will also appreciate that, because starting a new thing and changing your life is hard, right? And scary.
It is.
And
It is.
and people always like to talk to guys who have done it. I feel no one ever talks to the guy who's doing it right now.
Yes, it's true. I think maybe one thing I maybe just want to quickly just add, if you don't mind, Anna, is after looking back, is I've realized that the past 10 years have prepared me for this. Not my last job, not the latest blog, not the latest podcast I listened to. My last 10 years, everything I did and didn't do has prepared me for this. All of us are living stories. And you should write your story as it's supposed to be, as an original narrative. And I think we sometimes want to copy people, all the great stories, the Steve Jobs, the Mark Zuckerbergs, all of those. And, they did it in a dorm room, so I need to do it in a dorm room or a garage. No. And in closing, I'll say, don't let the uncertainty of tomorrow steal today from you.
Amazing. Thank you so, so much.
It was really, really a pleasure.
Where can people find Brands and People?
So our website's brandsandpeople.net. All our handles are on there as well. But if you want to go on Facebook, it's Brands and People, one word. And on Instagram, Brands and People, one word.
Thank you so much. All the best. I'm definitely going to catch up with you in, I think, about 6 months' time to hear your new war stories and to hear, whether you guys are making it still, and if you're not making it, why you're not making it. I'm not saying you're not going to make it. You know what I mean? I'm going to check in with you in 6 months.
Please do that and keep us true to our motives.
Absolutely. Cheers, SJ. Thank you.
It's a pleasure, Anna. Take care.
What a brave guy, right? I mean, there were really good lessons in there. I think my favorite bit was that bit he said right at the end, which is that everything you did in the last 10 years has prepared you for what you need to do now. Like, that blew my mind. If there's a part of today's show that really spoke to you, or if there's someone that you know that needs to hear this show, please share it with them. And also make sure you subscribe, because next week I'm talking to, she's just one of the most inspirational and hilarious and resilient and fantastic people I've ever met in my life. Her name's Irene Fisher, and she's a motivational speaker and also an author, and she's educating South Africans about traumatic brain injury and about different kinds of disability. This girl survived a car crash that she really wasn't supposed to survive, and then she took that chance life gave her and made one massive 180-degree turn. So you better watch this space. Or listen to this space, or whatever. Just make sure you don't miss next week's show. Cheers!